So about maybe 2 weeks ago, we basically made a video talking a little bit about several reasons why you should consider not retiring early, and really just talking and exploring about the dark sides of early retirement. But you guys left a lot of really great feedback and comments, so thank you guys so much for that, which inspired today's video, which is going to be talking about the opposite, which is pretty much going to be about several things or reasons why you might actually consider early retirement as a really great thing, and about why you should retire early as soon as you possibly can. So with that being said, let's just get right to this video. But as always, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and let's get started. So maybe to start by giving a little bit of an introduction about me and by the way, if you are brand new here, welcome. So happy to have you. Consider maybe subscribing, or you can watch to the end to decide. But the idea is that a little bit about me is that basically I was someone that was forced into early retirement. I'm currently working, so you can kind of basically say is that I went into retirement, then I left retirement, and I'm back working again. But the reason why I specifically went retired relatively early is really because at that time period, it was not because I had the financial capital to do so, but it was more because I was forced into early retirement because my industry had shut down. So if you don't know about me, the background story is that I work in the TV and film industry. And when the pandemic had hit and struck everyone, basically every single person in my industry went unemployed for the better part of over 1 year. And even once things came back, it was a very gradual process. And even once beyond that and then afterwards, several years later, my industry went into strike. In other words, everything, all the projects, everything that was being filmed around was all being shut down. So as a result, I was forced to leave my job temporarily for over 1 year. And then eventually I came back, thankfully. But that was really the story behind it. So I was someone in that sense that did actually get forced into early retirement. But the first point to really be able to make about why you should maybe consider early retirement is going to be everything related to fulfillment, just personal fulfillment, and I guess you can say purpose. Because the idea behind this first point is that there's a lot of people that maybe are working a job and they don't necessarily feel fulfilled behind it. They're just really doing it for the money, which is totally cool. Because at the end of the day, we do have to survive at the end of the day, right? We do have to make money, we have to pay bills, we have to pay for necessities, expenses, all those different costs. So the idea really behind this one really is that because if you are someone that is working your job currently as a means to an end and you do not necessarily find fulfillment, it may be time to consider early retirement so that you can go and chase what you actually do find fulfilling, and that gives you a sense of purpose in life. And I think that's going to be the first point to really be able to share. It's to be able to have something to actually live for, something to really be able to enjoy. The idea really is to now maybe take this as a chance to start a new chapter in something else. You don't even necessarily have to fully retire for this. What you can also consider doing is maybe career shifting, but maybe only working part-time. So you're now kind of just semi-retired. You can maybe go into semi-retirement mode, just like mentioned. You can maybe pursue a passion job, a passion career path. Maybe you always wanted to get into acting. Maybe you wanted to get into something in the arts. Maybe you wanted to start a business. These are just some options and ideas that maybe you can consider throwing it out there. Because I do know is that one of the biggest advice, and I shared this in the last video, but if you haven't seen that video, which I'll put at the very end screen so you can watch it after you watch this video, is that one of the biggest advice that I really got about early retirement is that you should treat early retirement not necessarily as a way to get away from something, but rather as a way to get towards something else. Because if you look at retirement as a way to get away from something, then what really ends up happening is that you end up escaping that something once you retire, but then you end up lost in direction about where to go because you don't know where to go at that point, because you've never developed a sense of purpose and fulfillment. So you end up just standing in the same spot staring at the wall all day during retirement because you don't know what to do with your time anymore. So to alleviate that, what it really is about is to try to find a way to kind of know and understand yourself and what you're actually after, so that once you do retire, you can actually go out there and seek that particular something that you now finally feel is relatively fulfilling. So that's really going to be the second point to really make behind this. Now, the first point to really make behind this. Now, the second point to really make in terms of why you should maybe consider early retirement is going to be because of health reasons. And this is really because a lot of times I think it's very, very fair to say that many people work jobs that can potentially impact their health, not necessarily in positive ways. Maybe you have a desk job where you're just basically sitting behind and you're lacking exercise all day. Maybe your eyes have become strained because of all the computer usage. Maybe you work a labor job where your body has now physically been torn, or just certainly not necessarily weakened because you probably have a very built body, but it's certainly been worn off because of the labor intensive amount of labor that you have to work at during your job. So if you're someone that has been impacted because of your job, it might be time to consider early retirement so that you can rebuild that health once again, so that you can kind of get your health in order, so that you can have more time to go out there, get physically fit, rebuild your body, restore anything that might have happened, work on your health, eat better food, better diet, better exercise, better workouts, more fresh air, sunlight, everything in that world. That's why the second reason why you should maybe consider going into early retirement. Now, the third point to really be able to make, and this is definitely going to be one of those things about why you should retire early and not just retire in general, and it's going to be because of age sensitivity. So what do I mean by this is that because there are a lot of things that you can do in life at almost any age, but then there's also a lot of things in life that you can do and enjoy better when you are younger. So the reason why it could be so important to retire early sometimes is because you can technically wait until you're like 65, 70 years old to retire, but then the problem is that there's so many things that you might want to do in life that's very, very age sensitive that might make it harder for you to do later on. What are examples of this? Could be so for example, like travel. You technically can travel at any age, but depending on the lifestyle and the specific kind of travel, that might impact the age that you can actually do that particular travel activity. If you're trying to take a cruise, you can take a cruise at almost any age. You can be 70 years old and take a cruise. You can be 25 years old and take a cruise and enjoy. But if you're doing something such as like mountain climbing, rock climbing out in the Grand Canyon, a massive long hike, something that's very physical, climbing the Great Pyramids or anything like that, a lot of these things, they're very, very age sensitive. It's just a lot easier to do it when you're younger. So if you are finding yourself in a situation where maybe that's something that, going back to the first point, that you do feel that you will find fulfilling and give you purpose in life, is something that you maybe have to do a little bit early on, that might be a reason to consider early retirement, is that you can do that particular something before it becomes too late. I know, for example, some people really wanted to get into acting, but they realize that while it's true that you can get into acting at a later age, when you are in a younger age demographic, there's a lot of roles that you can potentially play that you cannot play later on. So that makes it a little bit easier if you were to kind of get a little bit of a head start on it. And that's maybe the third thing to really consider when you're trying to think about why you should consider retiring early. But there's so many things we can share, so that's why feel free to comment down any points below or personal thoughts. And then probably the fourth and potential last thing to really be able to share in terms of why you should consider retiring early is going to be everything related to, and this is one of my favorite ones, is going to be everything related to family and social life. Because, and this goes back to tying in with the age sensitivity related reason, is that because when you are still relatively young, chances are for a lot of people, as you get older, your social circle starts to divide a lot. People become busy, your friends start to become busy, people start getting busy with their jobs, they get more responsibilities, they get married, they enter relationships, they have kids, they get tired. Some people just end up getting tired when they're old. So if you're trying to build up a very, very relatively prolific social life, if you want to spend more time with your family, if you want to spend more time with your kids while they're still young and around before your kids go off and potentially move out of the home, then it means that you want to potentially retire early so you have more time for these particular activities. So that's just something to really, really think about. So the bottom line is that the reasons why you should maybe consider retiring early is just because there are so many things that you can only do when you're at a young age, or certainly that will become harder to do as you age forward. And the saying goes is that you can always make money at almost any stage in life, but as you age forward, you can never age backwards. And the time, that is one of the most priceless things that no amount of money will ever be able to buy back again. Within means, of course, because again, You can obviously buy faster transportation, you can buy convenience and stuff like that, but within means, you can never buy age back. And that's one of the biggest things to really consider when it comes to early retirement. So to really just recap, all of this is really just about purpose and fulfillment. It's about trying to do things that are age sensitive and to try to work on your health. And then most of all, to build on your social life and your family life. And I think these are just some very important reasons that you might want to consider retiring early. But of course, there's really arguments to both sides. Early retirement, late retirement, pros and cons to both sides. Feel free to comment any thoughts below, but that's really going to wrap up today's video. So with that being said, if you guys made it to the end, thank you guys so much for watching all the way through. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.